Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1 o'clock here in sunny Burlington, Ontario, and that means it is time for another episode of Get to Know Them. I'm so excited about my guest today. This conversation is going to be awesome. But before I introduce our guest, I have to go through a few things. Number one, for those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, this is a show that I created back when COVID started. It is called Get to Know Them. I am your host, Monica Graves, and I'm a full time jewelry designer. I've always had a passion for interviewing people that I know from all different walks of life and giving them a platform to share their story so that they can inspire you. So get ready for some inspiration over the next hour. This conversation will be sure not to disappoint. So I'm very, very happy you're here. I also have some really great show sponsors. So I wanted to run through those with you right now. My first show sponsor is Brenda Badome. She is a very talented clothing designer located in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm always wearing her clothing. And you can find her website at Brenda Badome, spelled with two D's and one M, .com. Use the coupon code Get to Know Them, and you'll receive 20% off your order. My second show sponsor is Flourish and Basque. They are located in downtown Oakville and have a lovely assortment of alcohol-free beverage options, which I'll give you a hint is so on topic for our interview today. And Chantel owns this shop there. She also carries some beautiful stemware. So be sure to go in and check out what she has. And again, you can use the coupon code Get to Know Them either online or in store when you visit flourishandbasque.ca, and she'll give you 10% off your order. Our third show sponsor is the amazing Scooters Roller Palace located in Mississauga, Ontario. A lot of people say, aren't they closed? But no, they are not closed. They are still open. They are alive and well, and there's a pulse in there that is constantly beating. So get down there, practice roller skating again. It is so much fun. I'm there every Thursday night. And if you're feeling a little rusty, there are lessons available for adults, and that starts at 7 p.m. every Thursday. So be sure to check yourself into a lesson, and then I'll see you on the rink. Last but not least, I am also a sponsor of this show with my jewelry collection, Glam Jewels, GLAMJULZ.com. I'm always wearing my jewelry on the show, and you can check out our website. If you have a fundraising idea, something that you're passionate about that you want to raise money for, please talk to me. We do a lot of collaborations for fundraisers, and we would love to help you out with yours. So, are you guys ready to meet today's guest? I am going to pull up her bio and read it to you. Today, you will be meeting Laura Valvasori. Laura is a business and well-being mentor, the author of Good to Grow, Cultivate Your Mindset and Habits to Thrive as an Entrepreneur, a certified emotion code practitioner, and the creator of the Still Me But Alcohol Free program. Like many women in her early 40s, Laura started feeling like alcohol was no longer agreeing with her body, and drinking was starting to feel out of alignment with her otherwise healthy lifestyle. After hitting a breaking point, she decided to try on going alcohol free in a quest to feel better. Today, over 3.5 years later, she lives happily, alcohol free. She is now passionate about sharing what she's learned to help guide other women through the journey of shifting to an alcohol free life. Having just celebrated my 2 year mark of choosing to live alcohol free, meeting Laura was a breath of fresh air. She has so much knowledge on this topic. You're going to love to hear all about her personal story. I don't know what I'm so excited that I'm getting like verklempt over my words here. Okay, here she comes. Laura,
There I am.
oh my God, I'm so
Woo!
happy you're here. I'm sorry, I was stumbling over the beginning and end of the bio. I was like, I just
Sounded
want Laura to come
perfect.
on here.
It sounded perfect.
Oh, I'm so happy you're here. This is so great. One of our favorite topics.
Yeah, we've been
Yeah.
trying to plan this for a little while after we met through an introduction through one of your show sponsors, through Chantel at Flourish and Basque. She said, "You have to meet Monica." And
Oh,
it just felt like a great alignment from the beginning. So I'm really excited to be here with you today.
oh, that's so great. So Laura, we have to start off by the with the first question I ask all of my guests, and that is, what did little Laura want to be when she grew up?
Little Laura, oddly, I feel like I wanted to be a writer. That probably would have been the thing that I kept coming back to. And when I look back on my childhood, I also see clues to other things. That one of my favorite pastimes used to be going to my grandparents' house. And maybe you'll remember this, they had an encyclopedia set. And it was like cream and green labels. And it felt like it was such a big deal when they bought these. And they were so proud to have them. And I'd go there. This sounds so geeky, but this is what I did. I'd like pull off a random edition and I'd open to a random page and I'd learn about a subject. And then I'd create like a summary or like a book report about it. This is what I did for fun.
Wow.
But I now see this thirst for knowledge and being able to distill information down that now plays into my career as an adult, and then eventually played into me writing the book Good to Grow. And it's kind of one of those things that was there, but then I never really pursued it. And when it was time to like look for career options, I had taken a marketing class in grade 11 and it just felt really good. And I had a teacher that I really clicked with. So that sort of became the direction for my career. And I ended up going to university for business, specializing in marketing. But writing's always kind of been,
Wow.
communication and writing has always been under the surface of lots of things that I've done.
Amazing. I love that encyclopedia story. That must have
Yeah.
felt like a little adventure. Like you don't know
Yeah.
where you're going to end up, but
Yeah. I
that's
just loved
great.
learning. And I always remember like learning about Australia and then like making pictures and like putting in like doing like a summary of all the things I've learned. I don't know why. I don't even know
Wow.
what I was doing with these reports that I was making.
You
I
were
just remember,
creating
yeah,
you were creating the internet. You were already
yeah,
working on
basically,
like,
basically,
yeah.
yeah. I
My
love those
God.
books. Yeah,
That's so great. Isn't that wild how in our lifetime this is what we've witnessed? Like, our parents or grandparents getting an encyclopedia set and how valued
yeah,
it was. And like
it
now
was
we have all this information in our house under our own roof. There was
right.
no go online and look for something.
So different. And I remember them being
Yeah.
so excited. Like it was a big investment for them. There was like door to
Mhm.
door salespeople that used to come around, and they got they got sold one of these sets, and they were so proud because it was something that they could like educate us with and that we had access
Yeah.
to, that not everyone had them in their house. They'd have to go to the library. So to have it would just, it was like a big deal. So I always remember that about going
God.
there.
Amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about your book and the process of writing?
Yeah.
How that all came to be?
So my book,
Yeah.
um I always felt like I had a book in me. Like I said, that I always felt like there was some kind of writing and that passion for that, but I never knew what it was going to be about. And I always felt like one day it would reveal itself. And I started getting a lot of people. This was sort of mid pandemic, and a lot of people had left their corporate jobs or were working from home and were experiencing what life was like without being in a traditional corporate world, not commuting all the time, and all of these things. And they were starting to think about, when this all wraps up, this pandemic thing, like, do I want to go back to that life? And what does it look like for me? So I had a lot of people reaching out to me, asking me, how did you start your business? Like, what was involved? And so I thought, oh, maybe this is it. This is what people keep asking me about. And so I started writing the book. And the first version of the book, here's something I learned, is that the first version is the first version, was very much about like how to start a business, more about the nuts and bolts of things you needed to do. And there was some information in there about what you had to experience, what you would experience as a person. And when I started sharing the copy with advanced readers and getting feedback, I started to see the thing that was different was those little sections where I was talking about what you as a person would experience, because nobody talks about that. And so I did a whole rewrite of the book, and it became what is the book now. So it is supporting people who are making the transition from corporate to being a business owner or an entrepreneur, and how you have to shift your mindset and your habits to set yourself up for success. Like believing in yourself, being your biggest cheerleader and the biggest person pushing you in things, how you need to be open to being more visible, how you have to get more comfortable in reaching out to people. Like there's a lot of skills that you don't have in a corporate job where you have a team of people around you, that all of a sudden it's all on you. And it's really about like leading yourself and leading the development and growth of that business. So that is what the book became.
Wow, that's beautiful. I wish I'd had that book when I
Me too.
left the corporate. Oh, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I tried
It's
to write the book. I
true
wish I
because
had.
you really that is such a brilliant idea because you really like you transform as a human when you
For
leave that
sure.
corporate environment. It's just like you start to your own business is really a discovery of yourself,
It's
which
like
you
the
don't get to do.
biggest personal development project ever, starting your own
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I'm really
Oh,
happy.
amazing.
I get notes from people saying like, "Oh my gosh," like I feel like it lands with people who need it at the right time now. So
Yeah.
like there was the initial big launch, and then now I hear from people every now and then that it came to them through a recommendation or something, and it was exactly what they needed to hear at the time. And that makes me feel really gratified, because that's what I always intended, was for it to just, if it just helps a handful of people, that's what it was about
Mhm.
for me.
Beautiful. So, Laura, where can people get that book?
So it's
Like,
available on Amazon. So you can buy
okay.
the hard copy or the Kindle version right
Yeah.
through Amazon, any of the different platforms, .ca.com, any
Yeah.
of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
I have a
Wow.
copy of it
Amazing.
here. Actually, this is my book right here. I had
Good.
it in case you're talking about it. So that's what it looks like. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to pick that up for sure because I still
Yay.
think there's, even 18 years later, there's still
Oh,
stuff I
yeah.
hang on to. Yeah. It's got to
And
go.
there's people that are seasoned entrepreneurs that read it and get a lot out of it as well. So it's not, I intended to write it for newer entrepreneurs, and then the feedback I got
Mhm.
was that anyone that's reading it at any stage is taking nuggets away from it. So that also is really gratifying to hear.
Yeah. Perfect. Oh my gosh. That's awesome. So I want to like dive right into the alcohol-free discussion.
Mm-hmm.
It's like so amazing. So, can we start with your personal story, Laura,
Sure.
on why? Why did you
Yeah.
decide to ditch the alcohol?
So my story is that, so I drank as an adult, as many people did in social situations, and a drink at the end of the day at home. And we have a boat, and we are very social. Boating is very revolves around alcohol. So there was always a lot of occasions where it was around. And I enjoyed drinking wine and didn't have any issue with it. I did not have a drinking problem. I was not, um, there was nothing outwardly in my life that was happening, but I was starting around the age of 44, starting to feel like alcohol was maybe not aligning anymore. And I was starting to get some indigestion and heartburn. I was having terrible heartburn when I was trying to sleep. I wasn't sleeping well. I was getting bouts of what I was calling free floating anxiety, like anxiety that I wasn't used to having. And so I started doing all the things except taking the alcohol out. So working with a naturopath and trying to change some things in my diet and all of these other things. But I was sort of intuitively feeling like it might be the alcohol, but I didn't want to admit that because I was afraid of what it would mean for my social life if I decided not to drink. I just could not envision what life would look like without alcohol. And I put more weight on caring about what other people would think and how it would impact that part of my life than how I was feeling. And I got to a point where we took a 3-week trip on our boat, because it was sort of when we were just coming out of lockdowns. I can't even remember what cycles what. I wish I'd kept better notes, but it was
Yeah.
coming out of one of the lockdowns, and we decided to do this trip because we were able to. and I drank every day for 3 weeks because we were on vacation and I wasn't drinking heavily, but it was like a steady, cooler in the afternoon or a Corona, and then you have some wine with dinner. And by the end of the 3 weeks, I was feeling awful. I was not sleeping. I was popping Tums like crazy. And I was like, something has to give. So, as I believe things come to us when they're meant to, this book came through my feed, and it was This Naked Mind by Annie Grace. So I
Mm.
downloaded the book on my Kindle and I read it in the last couple of days on our vacation. And I was like, okay, I need to try this. And this time, when I say this time, because in the past, when I tried to do like a dry January or something, where you feel like you just want to have a period of cutting back on alcohol after indulging in the holidays, I was always miserable because I was thinking about what I was missing out on and what I was deprived of and all of those things. So this time I thought, I need to apply a lot of what I've learned from studying mindset work and some of the things I've learned from this book and follow my own intuition and approach it from that perspective as an experiment and see what happens. I'm not doing a 30-day challenge. I'm just going to take it out for a while, and I didn't define that timeline, and see what happens. And within the first couple of weeks, it became very apparent to me that alcohol was not agreeing with me. My indigestion, heartburn literally disappeared almost overnight. I was sleeping so much better that I hadn't recognized how poorly I was sleeping. The anxiety reduced. I was clearer. There was so many things that made it obvious that this was the right choice for me, that I just kept going, and again, never defined a timeline, and just kept saying like, oh, for a while, I'm doing this, which then led to 3.5 years later. And it's the right choice for me.
Yeah, amazing. It's I'm so happy that we are talking about this, and I'm so happy that there are more open discussions about this because
Mhm.
one of the things that I love that's on your website is how you talk about alcohol as a frenemy.
Right.
And oh my God, that really hit me when you were
Yeah.
talking about that. So maybe you can sort of
Yeah, so
give
that that
people this.
actually that
Yeah.
actually came from a conversation I had with one of the first participants that went through the Still Me But Alcohol Free program that I've now developed. And that
Mhm.
came out when we were talking about what's your current relationship with alcohol. And she shared that she said it feels like a frenemy to me. And that resonated so much because she said, I feel like it's been there through so many of the good times in my life as a friend by my side. But now it's feeling like one of those friends that you just don't quite jive with anymore. You've sort of outgrown, but you don't know how to break up with that friend. And there's more negatives coming out of the relationship than positives. And I just thought that was such a great way to articulate how it was feeling for me. Like I was like, but we've had so many awesome nights drinking on my neighbor's porch together, and we've had great boating weekends, and alcohol's involved in all those things. So how could I walk away from that, and what would those experiences look like in the future? And I can now say that I have had all those experiences and still have fun in all of the situations I'm in. And that's part of what I want to help other people understand, is what's possible, because I didn't think it was
Mhm.
possible at all.
Yeah.
And here I am 3.5 years later, 100%
Yeah.
happily alcohol free, happy to be around other people drinking. It is a very, very personal choice. And I never want to convince anyone. It is a choice that you have to make for yourself. But if you are feeling that inkling, or that you want to explore it more, I want to support people that are in that space. I don't want to have, it's not about convincing someone, because everyone has to make a choice that's right for them.
Mhm. Yeah, I love this. And it's so interesting when you look at the evolution of human beings and the types of discussions that we have around these like more sensitive subject matters.
Yes.
You think back to even the way we used to view smoking. Like I remember
Right.
in the 70s, my grandmother would light up a cigarette as soon as she was done dinner and say to everybody else, I don't mind if you keep eating while I smoke. And we had
Right.
to accommodate the smoker.
Yep.
And it's kind of exciting in a way because it's almost as though we're witnessing the same thing with alcohol. And
Absolutely.
I remember meeting my husband. He was 23 years old and he said, I don't drink. And my first thing was like, uh-oh, I better be careful with this guy. He's obviously got a big problem.
Right.
And he was like, I just don't like the taste. And then that led me to, what's your problem? Like,
Right.
what,
Right.
how could you, like, I was so judgmental of him, and like, it was such an irritation to me for many
I
years.
know,
And,
and it stood out. I think we are undergoing the
yeah,
same evolution that happened with cigarettes, and it took many, many years for that shift to happen, and I think we're seeing it in younger generations. The statistics
yeah,
show that less people are drinking alcohol. I think they're choosing to do some other things, but they
mhm,
just aren't choosing to drink alcohol, like in the 20s. The
yeah,
challenge I see is women or people, or I'm just talking about women from my own experience, in their like 40s, 50s, that have had alcohol as a part of their life their whole time and are now recognizing that it's not agreeing. It's not easy to move away from it for so many
no.
reasons. And it's us that needs to make this shift when it's been such an ingrained part of our life forever versus someone in their younger years just never starting.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's so true, and it's what you're doing to support women is amazing, because there are so like, we've got menopause, like,
Yes.
that's so much to
Perimenopause,
handle.
menopause is
Per
like
Yeah,
a lot
and
of years.
perimenopause is the sweet hell that nobody talks about, you know? It's almost menopause is almost a walk in the park compared to the perimenopause, in my
Yeah.
experience,
Yeah.
but, taking the alcohol out of the mix, it's hope for a happy, very happy couple. It can sometimes be a couple of decades, right? That you're
So,
going through
yeah.
these hormonal shifts.
So a lot of what women
Yeah.
are experience that they're blaming on perimenopause is actually alcohol exasperating some of those symptoms. That was my experience.
Mm,
I had a naturopath interviewed within the program, and she talks about that being the experience that there is an impact on hot flashes, as an example, because of the dilation of your blood vessels and how alcohol impacts that. It affects your digestion and your gut health, which impacts your hormones and the ability to metabolize hormones. Like there's so many different systems
mm,
that it affects. It affects your brain, which we also are now, the science is talking a lot more about how menopause and perimenopause impact women's brain health. And again, it's another thing. It's like you're adding fuel to a fire that is already burning. And if you can take that out, it can not, I'm not saying like it's going to be a walk in the park and everything's all perfect, but it
mhm.
can definitely help to reduce the severity of some of the things that women are experiencing.
Yeah. Laura, what do you think? I saw a post, because there's also a lot of talk about, that they're linking alcohol with different types of cancers. And I saw this post that seemed quite severe to me, but it
Yeah.
showed a bottle of wine equals one pack of cigarettes. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, wow. So have you
Yeah.
kind of talked about
Yeah.
that as well? And yeah,
Yeah,
I'd love to hear.
there's a section in my program. We go in the first module, we talk about the truth about alcohol. It is the thing that nobody wants to hear, but it's all
Mhm.
the sort of science around how alcohol is impacting our body. And one of the areas that I had no idea about before I started exploring these things was the known connection between alcohol consumption and cancer risk, particularly for breast cancer in women. And when I learned that, I thought, like, how is we're doing all this campaign fundraising, like how is this not more known? And the Canadian Cancer Society shares a lot of statistics about these connections and research and studies. And they also are lobbying the government currently to have alcohol warning labels put on alcohol. There's a whole coalition of doctors in the Canadian Cancer Society to let people know of these risks because people just don't know. It's like the information
Mhm.
has been buried because no one really wants to hear it. But the truth is that there's more and more research showing the connection between cancers and other types of diseases connected to alcohol. And it's not just
Wow.
heavy consumption of alcohol, it can be moderate. Like when the Canadian, I just lost the name of it, when the guidelines changed just last January to recommending no more than two alcoholic drinks for women per week, that's a
Yeah.
dramatically different number than was previously recommended, and it was a big shift, and there was research behind all of those recommendations. So a lot of people are drinking much more than two drinks per week, and the risks are dose dependent, meaning the more you drink, the higher the risk. So even, I'm not saying everyone has to go alcohol free. I think it's the
Mhm.
best choice, but even moderating or reducing your consumption can have an impact on your health as well.
Mhm. Wow.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating. Like, and again, like, no judgment to anybody who drinks,
Yep.
but it just to me, it feels like going back to the smoking thing when, my father smoked because that's what you did as a man.
Yeah.
Men smoke. If you didn't smoke, like, you're not a man. They had the
Yeah.
first cigarette at like 10, 11 years
Yeah.
old, right? And it was, you think, looking at it now, like, it's so obvious, like, you're lighting this thing up and
I
you're
know.
and now, like, having not had alcohol for so long, I'm starting to feel that way about alcohol, like, I'm thinking I was it is referred to as poison in many
It is. It's actually
eh,
ethanol. Like, it is
eh,
actually a toxin that we're putting in
yeah,
our bodies.
yeah, and you think, like, I mean, yeah, I could throw it back like nobody's business, no,
Yeah.
and it's just so crazy to me. I have to say, I just love how I feel now every day. It's almost like I can rely on myself to feel good now,
Right.
whereas before I could not.
Right.
Even if I had a couple days off the drinking, it still, would affect me.
And
Yeah.
because it stays in your system, which I also think people don't realize, and I didn't know, was like when you have a drink, the impact on your body lasts for several days after. So even if you're having a drink and then you're not having a drink for a few days and then you're having one, you're still having like a low level of impact on depressing your nervous system, impacting your brain health, affecting your digestion, your gut biome. So it's almost like you have this low level of impact on your whole system continually
Mhm.
because you just keep every few days putting it in. Like, even if you're just drinking on the weekends, as an example, that still stays with you and impacts you for days.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing.
Mm.
So so
Yeah.
I'm thinking, so with your program, so you're starting your next program May the 20th is
Yes.
the
Yeah.
next start. So what is it that you walk women through in that program? And
So
would you ever do
yeah,
this for men as well? Do you think, Laura, one day you would offer it to
I
men,
I
or
feel
do
like a
you?
lot of it would be applicable to men. I specifically focused on women because of my own experience, and what I have also learned is that alcohol is more dangerous for women because of the way that we metabolize it, and there are some
Mhm.
differences in the way that alcohol impacts our hormone health and all of those things, so I tailored a lot of the content to speaking to women for that reason, but a lot of it's
Right, of
still
course.
same as applicable. So I
Yeah.
created, I was having people come to me and ask me for non-alcoholic drink recommendations, which I'm always happy to share. And what I was starting to realize is that I was then trying to explain some other things to them and saying, like, it's about more than just the drinks. Like, it's about shifting your mindset and having other supports in place. And I started finding myself sharing the same advice with different people. And I thought, oh, I wonder if I could create a program that would walk people through a lot of what I've learned and what I found supportive, and distill it down for them so that they don't have to be going and spending all the time and energy on the resources. So it's a 6-week program. You can do it as a self-guided program. So you sign up and you get access to the 6 modules and the workbook that goes alongside, and you can do it at your own pace. So you can sign up anytime for that, or at certain times during the year, I'm going to run it as a group experience. So we have additional support of a weekly call, so you can have a discussion and a Q&A, and a chat group that we can be chatting. And so it's a little more supportive. And for people that want more community and more accountability, that's a good option. So It's
Mm,
broken down into 6 modules. Each module has a number of short lessons in it and additional resources. So we start by talking about the truth about alcohol. It's all the science and articles about how it impacts your health in different ways. We then talk about how our beliefs about alcohol are formed and how we can start shifting our mindset about alcohol. And we do some affirmations, visualization, and start shifting our beliefs. That's the first couple of weeks, sort of setting you up. And then you release alcohol. And in the third module, I talk about what to expect in the first couple of weeks, how to set yourself up for success. I do a whole primer on the non alcoholic drinks market, what to look for, what the options are, give you links to where to buy, all kinds of stuff. And then in the fourth week, we talk about coping mechanisms or healthy resources to turn to when you're not turning to alcohol to deal with the tough parts of life. So I've brought
mm,
experts in from a whole bunch of different modalities, including things like tapping and breath work and meditation and yoga and the work, hypnosis. There's a whole bunch of people in there where we do short interviews and we talk about the modality, and then you have a bite-sized experience so you can experience a meditation, and they're all tailored to dealing with cravings or addressing somebody who is living an alcohol-free life. And then in the
mm.
fifth week, we talk about sort of staying on track and your why and help you continue to keep going forward after you're through the exciting part of the first couple of weeks and you're kind of feeling over it. And then in the sixth module, we talk about the pros and cons of being alcohol free or moderating, and you decide what you want to do going forward as your commitment to yourself at the end of the program.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah.
And is there is there like a commonality that you've noticed, Laura, with women where is there one thing that's making them hang on to the alcohol that's really, really hard? What
I
are kind
think
of some of the
that
reasons?
from what I've observed, it is, and what I experienced, as women, we have a really strong need to have a sense of belonging. And I know many people who, struggled in youth to find their friend groups and find their people. And that's something that I think trickles into our adult life. And anything that goes against or that threatens our sense of belonging or acceptance within a group is something we shy away from. So the idea of doing something that if the rest of your friend group is not doing it can be really scary. And so I think that that's what holds people back from making the decision. From my own experience and what I've observed in others is fear of what it's going to do to those relationships and how they're going to fit into the puzzle. And the truth is that often people care a lot less than you think.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to run into a few awkward conversations, which will give you some tools to work through. And you may lose some friendships or have some true colors come out of it from friendships, but generally, it's not as big of a deal as you're often making it out in your head to be. And people are
Right.
willing to support, especially if, from my point of view, I mean, I was like physically very feeling a lot of effects. So it's hard to argue with like, why are you doing this? So
Yeah.
I mean, all my friends have all been really supportive and I'm really grateful for that. And it's just normalized now that I don't drink. We don't even talk about it. I just have my own different bottle of non-alcoholic wine if we're getting together, or I just ordered something different at the restaurant if we're out. It's like a
Yeah.
non thing. And they have a driver. So they're really happy about that usually.
Yeah, that's great. That's so good. I remember feeling, Laura, like especially in the first year, it was so weird and I felt like I was actually making assumptions about other people's response to me. So
Right.
I would sit down and order like I'll just have an ice water with lemon, right? And everybody else would be getting drinks. And then I would put myself in this headspace where I would feel like, oh my God, they're all looking at me like I think I'm better than them, like
Yeah.
as though I'm shaming them for drinking. And I'm
Right.
like, that's not what I'm doing. Like, I felt like I wanted to somehow defend them and myself,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
just like, it's not an issue, it's just a drink. It's
right.
a liquid. Who
Yeah,
cares? Like,
I
yeah,
think a lot of the reaction from people comes from how you start showing up. So if you go into that same
yeah,
experience and you order the ice water and you sit there like this the whole time with your ice water and you're cranky because you're like,
yeah,
well, I'm not having the thing. Of course it's
yeah,
not. But if you order an ice water or a virgin Moscow mule or something else that makes it look like you're having a cocktail and participating, and you're
mhm.
still engaging with the conversation and still having fun, then it's a non-issue. It's when you make yourself kind of, a lot of it is in your head, like you say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think so. Yeah, and it is, I have to say, I do feel like I have to hold myself back from telling people like how awesome I feel not having it. And it's
It's
like one of those things, like, it's almost like you discovered the Holy Grail and you want everybody else to
I
hop on
know
the
it's
bandwagon,
a
but
tricky
it's very delicate. Like, it's not for,
it's a tricky
oh,
thing because I can totally identify with that and actually cover a lesson in the program where we talk about being a role model and not an advocate, because
uh-huh.
it can be easy to want to be like, oh my gosh, and share all this information and you're gonna feel so much better. And if you only you knew, and but it's not often met with reception, and
Yeah.
it is not the best choice. So if someone asks me, I am so happy to share, but I don't
Yeah.
like share my views, and I want to support people that need the support. And everyone
Mhm.
comes to it at a different time in their life. Like my
Yeah.
teenage daughter, she's 19 and she drinks. And
Yeah.
I think that it's a part of her life experience, and she sees what I'm doing and she sees what's possible.
Mhm.
But as a university student, like, she's living her life,
Mhm.
and I just hope that she kind of comes to the realization sooner than I did. But I can't just be spewing all this stuff at her. First of all, she will not
No.
listen, and it's the same with anyone else in your life. If they're not feeling the need to make a change, that's the other thing. People have to feel like there's a reason that they want to make a change. When
Mhm.
I was having this intuitive feeling like I should quit, I remember going and talking to my best friend and saying, I think maybe we should like stop drinking for a while. And she was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, I'm just feeling like it's not so good for me, or I don't know. And she was like, I'm fine. She wasn't having an issue with it. So there's no
Mhm.
motivation for her to. So she was supportive of me, but she's like, yeah, I'm
Right.
good. Like, I don't need it.
Yeah.
She has reduced how much she's drinking from that time, but she's not alcohol free, and we still go out and have a great time together and do all those things. But if I had waited for her to say, yes, let's do this together as buddies, I wouldn't have made the
Mhm.
decision. And it really comes down to doing
Yeah.
what's right for you. So
Yeah.
I was feeling the call, like I needed to make the change, and I had to listen to that. And it takes some courage to do something
It
that
does.
goes against
S
the grain.
Yes, speaking of courage, that was gonna be my next question. What do you remember what your biggest fear was about stopping?
My
Like,
friendship with my best friend, for sure, and my
yeah.
husband, because
Ah.
my closest friend, we drank wine together all the time. And with my husband, we would have wine together at a restaurant. We booked vacations going to wineries like California and all those things. And I was thinking, like, how
Mhm.
is this going to impact those things? Those are definitely my biggest fears. And I've now established, like, it's great. It's great. My husband still drinks.
Mhm.
And so if we sit down, he kind of straddles both, and he'll do some non-alcoholic beers and some regular beer,
Mhm.
some regular wine. He does not like the non-alcoholic wine, so he's like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But if we sit down at the end of the day and we don't want to have a drink together, I'll pour a glass of non-alcoholic wine and he'll pour himself whatever he's having, and we have the
Mhm.
exact same interaction. And what I have learned is it's not about what's in your glass, it's about the connection. That's what you're craving in
Yeah.
having that drink together. At the end of the day, you're craving the connection, not what's in your glass.
Yes, that's so true. That is so true. There's a whole bunch of comments here that I'm gonna read to
Oh,
you.
I can't see them, so
One
I'm like, I don't know what's
one just
happening.
there's so many good there's good conversation. So
Okay,
one of
good.
the things Julie Cole is just asking,
She's on.
and fear of failure. Did you
Oh,
have a fear of failure that you're not going to be able to do this?
yeah,
I'm assuming that's what
for
Julie
sure.
means by
For
fear of
sure.
failure. Yeah.
And I was just talking to somebody about this that is gonna join me in the next round. She was saying that exact thing, like, "I'm afraid I'm gonna fail." I'm like, "Well, you have to try and find out, and it is not a failure, it is about collecting information." We are doing this process and giving yourself enough of an opportunity to see how it impacts you. So a lot of times we don't give ourselves a long enough break to experience some of the benefits. So then we don't think that it has many benefits for us. So
Right.
I say there is no thing there. The objective of going through the 6 weeks is not to come out as 100% alcohol free. The objective is to take alcohol out for a period to give yourself the opportunity to see how it impacts you and make the decision that's right from you. So there is no failing. At the end of it, it's not a pass or fail. It is
Yeah.
an information gathering exercise where you're going to come out with valuable information and perspective that you didn't have before.
Yeah. Wow. That's great.
Mm.
Laura, I remember my biggest fear was that I wasn't going to be fun anymore.
Yeah, me
I was going to be so in my own head and serious, and
yeah,
I was just going to be this like
yeah,
overthinking, contemplative person.
yeah.
And the
But
complete opposite has
yeah.
happened.
So that's I can identify with that, and I think
Yeah.
part of it is deciding you're still gonna be fun. A big part of it is
Uh-huh.
making the decision, and then when you get clearer, like, you actually can connect more in conversation. So, like, in a social situation where you might have been a bit foggy when you've had a couple of glasses of wine, you're actually more alert and able to engage. And I don't know, like, life can still be a lot of fun with alcohol. And
Mhm.
one of the biggest compliments when my best friend introduces me to someone new and they find out that I don't drink, she's like, "Oh, don't worry, but she's still fun." And I'm like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's good." Because that's what I want from the beginning. Like, I used an
Yeah.
affirmation that was, um, "It's fun and easy to live life alcohol free." I wrote that so many times. I had that written everywhere because for
Oh,
me, I
I love
wanted
it.
it to feel fun. I wanted it to feel easy, and that's how I live today. So
Beautiful. There's birds chirping now
I
that you
know.
just
Do you
said
hear
that.
them?
It's so nice.
Oh, seems
Yeah.
like a
I love it.
confirmation.
Yeah. Laura, one thing I wanted to share with you, I noticed it was probably around the 1 year mark. I remember being outside for a walk and I was like, oh my God, the colors. Every life is so colorful now.
Oh, your life's always colorful,
Yeah.
but now you
And it
notice the
and
colors more.
now you notice it, it's just like, whoa, this is so there's like all these little nuanced things that I never ever expected,
Yeah,
just
there's lots of
yeah. It's so cool.
yeah.
Okay, we need to go through these
Yeah, what
amazing
else? Is
the
there questions or
participation from the
yeah.
okay, so I'm gonna start at the top. So Luann Etherington, you actually you guys met at one of the She Walks
Yeah.
Canada walks that
Yeah.
I did that you're doing now.
Yeah.
We'll talk about She
Yeah,
Walks
let's talk
Canada
about
as well.
that.
But Luann is sharing it is so hard to stand on your own, especially in my case as a single woman almost 2 years alcohol free. I lost many friendship circles and spend many days in less social settings. With that being said, being alcohol free changed my body, mind, and soul significantly. My story is much the same as Laura. Um, sorry, my much the same as Laura, and I'm so grateful to have met incredible women like the two of you. Ah, we love
Yay.
you too, Luann. Yeah,
Oh, that was
so
nice.
great. And then Julie's coming in, hey gals, and
Oh, Julie.
what is she saying? Oh, I'm wondering if it makes my hot flashes worse. I think she missed that
Yes.
part. Yes, it
Yes, it
does.
does.
And not a fan of sweet mocktails. So
Yeah.
Luann chimed in with great sugar-free mocktails that are out there. And then yeah, the question about the okay, hang on a second. Okay, Julie says good to know about hot flashes because hers are driving her bonkers.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
she also says that my brother has not had a drink in 30 years and no one cares.
Yeah.
I love that. And Luann saying to Julie, what a great support Julie was to her in the early days, which is
Yay.
so awesome. And also Julie saying that's what food is too, which is why my kitchen is a hub. Yeah, so yeah, food, alcohol, this brings people together, right? And
Right.
we got to come together, like you said, and make those connections, knowing that it's the connection that we
Yeah.
crave.
Yeah,
That's
it's the
that's
connection
what
that
it
you're craving
really
for
is.
sure.
Yeah.
And it is nice.
Hmm.
So you and I are both ambassadors for She Walks Canada right
Yeah.
now. They are hosting a series of community walks for women who are sober curious and alcohol free. They are free walks, and the intention is just to get people together to talk and support each other in living this kind of lifestyle. So we've each been hosting some walks over the last few weeks, and
Yeah.
I'm hosting one more on Sunday at 2 o'clock. And some of the women that came last week were just so grateful to find out that there was other local women who were also living alcohol free. Like the one woman was saying, like, I've seen some online groups and then I saw you talking about this, and to have an opportunity to connect with somebody that is also living this way and ask questions. Like I just kind of felt alone before and didn't know there was other people doing this,
Yeah.
which I thought was really cool for her to share that, because it does make a difference to have people in your world that are going through the same experiences.
Oh, it sure does. It sure does. That's one of the most rewarding things about those walks is
Yeah.
like I love how everybody comes together and I don't know about your walks, but I found in mine, like we talk a lot about the way we were in our 20s,
Yeah.
the fake ID years, the bar hopping, the whole, like
Yeah.
we go
Yeah.
through the whole thing and then we just talk about, yeah, and I know you say the same, Laura, like it's really for anybody who is just curious about alcohol-free living. Like
Yeah.
even if you don't live an alcohol-free life, just to be able to go somewhere where you can have that conversation,
Yeah.
because that's when we make real change in our lives, is when we can become an observer of our life.
Yes.
And
And yeah.
just
And just to be out in
it's
nature,
exactly,
walking. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like
Right.
you with those encyclopedia. I'm just going to open this up,
Yeah.
I'm going to learn about this, and
Yeah.
I'm going to make a summary about it. And
Yeah. And
yeah,
that's kind of what my
beautiful.
program became when I think back to those
Right.
encyclopedia days. Like, what are all the things I learned? And like, how would I distill that into something that somebody could easily um, absorb and learn from and really have an impact without having to go all over the place and having all the
Yeah.
information in one place. So that's what
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Oh, it's so
Mm,
fantastic. Well, I'm excited for you. This is just going to keep growing and growing
thank
and,
you. I hope
you
so. I
know,
really want as many people to have this experience as they can, because
yeah.
I understand the impact I have seen. This makes me feel emotional. Like the impact
Yeah.
of one woman making a different decision, how that changes, how much energy she has showing up in her life, how that changes her relationship with her kids, how that changes her ability to grow her business or excel in her career. And all of those
Mhm.
things have this ripple effect to impacting the next generation or other people beyond that person. And that just feels amazing to know that one person making a change can impact more people. And it's a beautiful thing.
I love that. I don't usually swear on my show, but I'm going to.
I gotta
So,
swear. What are we gonna get?
you know what changed bef- uh, before and after with the drinking for me?
What?
Before, I would have amazing ideas. I would sit down, pour a drink, and say, fuck it.
Right.
Never say that anymore. Ever. I do every idea. I'm like, oh my God, what do I have to do to make this happen?
Right.
And the energy in me,
And the
it's like a
clarity, and
fire.
you've got the chutzpah to go make it happen.
Yeah, the chutzpah is like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I don't have
amazing.
the chutzpah to do the dishes, but I got I
This is
have it
not
for
like your world is going to be perfect if you remove alcohol, let's be clear, but it can
yeah.
improve a whole lot of things.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
sure can. Oh my God. I love talking to you, Laura, and I
Oh, I
love
love
your
that
whole
you.
approach because you are you are so easy to talk to. There is no judgment. You've been there, you've done that. You know what it feels like to be on the other side of like, no, that I'm not quitting alcohol. Like this is my best buddy here. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna
Yeah.
give it up, you know. So you understand all angles, and I think, you know, you're the best person for anybody who is
Mm,
curious about this
thank
to
you.
do your program and to really, you know, take that, make, you know, one of your I loved one of your testimonials on your page was a woman said, "This is the best gift I've ever given myself."
Me
And,
too. I love
you
that.
know,
I love
it
that.
is. It's a gift to yourself for sure.
It is definitely a gift to yourself to give yourself a chance to know who you are.
Yeah.
That's why the title, and I really feel strongly about it because it feels like I'm still me. I'm just alcohol free. Like who is the me that's in there even without the alcohol? And we
Mhm.
don't often give ourselves a chance to find out. So
Yeah.
that's why I titled it that, because I wanted it to just be about like, who am I without this? And
Yeah.
what can I discover about myself? And how can it change? So it is a
Yeah,
gift.
I love that title. I love it especially because it makes you think. Like when you read Still Me but Alcohol Free, if I had read that 2 years ago, I'd be like, "Oh, cool. Okay, I can still be myself without alcohol."
Right.
Now, 2 years later, not drinking, I'm like, "Still me." Me, so I was defining myself as a person with alcohol in them.
Yeah.
Not I wasn't defining myself as who I actually am.
Yes.
Was the person with the alcohol.
Yeah.
It's so wild. Like, God, you are amazing, Laura. Like, I
Thank
can't
you.
believe that, like that
Thank you.
title, it gives you so much to think about and really check in with yourself in a very few words,
That's what I was
you
hoping
know?
for. So yeah.
Oh, you nailed it, girl. It's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah, I love it. And also, okay, so while we're talking, this obviously is all about you, but I need to do a little like
Yeah.
self-fulfilling plug here
Yeah.
because we're on the topic. So, as you know, I've hosted alcohol-free dance parties at
Yes.
my studio since
Yes.
I've stopped drinking. Frigging fantastic. I hope you'll come to the next one. It's on June the 1st, and I keep it very, it's in a, you know, a private group. So any women out there who are watching who want to engage with the community, like do Laura's program, join Laura and I for our walks,
Yeah.
come to the alcohol-free dance party just to have the experience. And you know, we're here for you. I mean, I feel like Laura,
Yeah.
I'm in this with you totally.
I
I,
love it. And that's why
yeah,
we
I
were
just
connected. We were meant to
yeah,
connect.
we
When the
totally
universe
were.
shows me someone a few times, like somebody recommended you that I reach out to you and I hadn't, and then
Yeah,
somebody else said your name and I hadn't, and then Chantel said
yeah,
your name. I'm like, okay, I hear it. I know I'm supposed to connect with her. And that's when you and I first connected and
yeah.
realized we had all of these other connections beyond just alcohol free life in our life, which meant it was definitely meant to be.
Definitely, definitely. So cool. Yeah. So that's another thing for people who are worried about losing friends, and there's a whole bunch of other friends out there who are, you know, you will never be alone.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome, Laura. Oh
Okay.
my God. Okay, so I have to put you in our virtual green room now. I don't want to
Yep.
stop talking to you, but the
Thank you
time
for
has come, my friend.
Oh, this has been great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Awesome.
really, really happy that we had this conversation. And if anyone has any other questions that they think of after, please feel free to reach out to me or follow me on socials and DM me any questions. And I'm always happy to help.
Yeah, perfect. And we'll be sure to
Okay,
put your website in the comments too, so people
perfect.
can go right there. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. What a great conversation. if you are curious about alcohol-free living, Laura is your girl for sure. And I can't wait to see you again next week. We're going to have another awesome guest. And don't forget to check out our sponsors, my jewelry collection, glamjewels.com, glamjulz.com, flourishandbasque.ca, scooters.ca, and brendabadome.com. Keep on showing the world your sparkle. You're awesome. And I'm so happy you were here today. We'll see you next week.